This game holds a special place in the hearts of many people. The game that brought the Medal of Honor series to the PC platform and set the footing for games to come in the World War II FPS genre. It was released at a pivotal time when World War II FPS games were transitioning to a new level. The game differed from its predecessors, which is now more of a gun-and-run type of shooter. Games prior to it were slower, and had a weird aiming system which made them more of a stand-and-gun experience. Developed by 2015 Inc., a relatively unknown studio at the time, and published by Electronic Arts, a leading player in the gaming industry at a time, known for publishing titles like Need for Speed, FIFA, and in some regions even Return to Castle Wolfenstein, one of the best-selling and most popular games of that era. The game drew much inspiration from Saving Private Ryan, multiple award-winning film released 4 years prior, leading to one of the most iconic missions of that era, the Normandy landing. The game puts players in the boots of Lieutenant Mike Powell, a member of the 1st Ranger Battalion, who would go on missions from North Africa to Norway. Powell was born on May 5, 1916, in Rice Lake, Wisconsin. Prior to his entry into military service, Lieutenant Mike Powell completed a degree in military history and languages in West Point. He served as a rifleman in the 34th Infantry Division, where he shows marksmanship and fieldcraft second to none among the thousands of applicants to the 1st Ranger Battalion. On May 27, 1941, he graduated from the United States Military Academy at West Point and issued a commission as a 2nd lieutenant in the U.S. Army. Transferred to the 34th Infantry Division, where he would be promoted to 1st lieutenant on October 25th that same year. On April 16, 1942, he volunteered for the 1st Ranger Battalion. Then he would pass interview and selection process at Carrickfergus. After the 1st Ranger Battalion activation, Powell would be sent on his first mission, which takes place in Arzu, North Africa. He would be sent with a small group of Rangers to rescue SAS operative Major Jack Grillo and sabotage as much German equipment as possible and prepare the coast for Operation Torch, one of the first major operations for the Western Allies, launching an invasion of North Africa.
Thanks. They would have killed me.
After rescuing the Major and preparing everything for Operation Torch, Major Grillo and Lieutenant Powell would be sent to Trondheim, Norway. They are tasked with destroying a prototype detector capable of finding blind spots in enemy radars. Additionally, they are to blow up one of the German submarines along the way. Nothing special. Major Grillo greets the lieutenant, briefs them about the device, and dies within the first 30 seconds of the mission. After infiltrating the coastal base, Powell disguises themselves as a German officer. Here, we are given a choice. We can choose to continue the mission in the role of an officer or proceed in Rambo style, killing everyone we can. This made it distinct from most games of that time, making the game relatively realistic. The player couldn't just put on an enemy uniform and walk through a base full of Germans. Instead, they had to show documents to certain soldiers to proceed, and if they showed them to an officer, they would be exposed. After a successful mission in Norway, Powell is sent to the shores of France to take part in one of the bloodiest battles of World War II, the invasion of Normandy. One of the most iconic missions of that era was designed to be similar to the Normandy landing scene in Saving Private Ryan. You land on Omaha Beach, only to be greeted with machine gun fire. Seeing corpses all around, you run from cover to cover, trying to reach the bunkers and get off the beach as soon as possible. After the successful landing in Normandy and laying the foundation for the liberation of France, the lieutenant is given the task of finding intelligence on German plans and locating the new model of the Tiger tank, the Tiger II, also known as the King Tiger. The lieutenant is dropped somewhere in Normandy and has to find the French resistance fighter Manon Baptiste. She is one of the most important characters in the entire series. She appeared in the original Medal of Honor, Allied Assault, Medal of Honor, European Assault, and Medal of Honor, Above and Beyond. She is the main protagonist and playable character in Medal of Honor Underground. She was also mentioned in Medal of Honor Frontline and Medal of Honor Heroes during mission briefings. She informs the lieutenant that the intelligence he seeks, as well as the King Tiger, are in a manor not far from there. After successfully stealing the intelligence and destroying the tanks, the lieutenant manages to escape with another French resistance fighter named Henri. From there, he is transported to Brittany, to the small city of Landerneau. with a mission to locate a tank crew that has been trained to operate the King Tiger tank and to move to Brest, a city about 25 kilometers southwest of Landerneau. Upon beginning the mission, the player is greeted with one of the hardest missions of that time: Sniper's Last Stand. Moving from building to building, Powell and the tank crew reach the King Tiger, blowing up their way to Brest. Upon reaching it, Powell and his friends find out that the Germans are trying to blow up the only bridge that can take them to the inner city. Because of that, Powell finds a high point in one of the buildings near the bridge and prevents the Germans from blowing up the bridge. Along the way, he calls for air support to help them with the approaching German tanks. Powell then goes to Fort Schmerzen, a fictional fort built on the Siegfried Line. His mission is to steal blueprints for the STG-44, a German assault rifle, as well as the St. G-44 itself. He also needs to free POWs that have been held there, and after all that, blow up the fort itself. For that, Powell needs to descend to the lower levels of the fort, planting the bombs and barely escaping the fort with the POWs. Powell would then be sent home and welcomed as a hero. Overall, the game was a fantastic experience for that time. Though it had its flaws like any other game, it had a lot of historical inaccuracies. For example, the Tiger II was not deployed into battle until July 11, 1944. Yet in the game, we have fully functional Tigers on June 22nd. It had its flaws on the gameplay side too, like, what the hell is even this jump? And the stun effect you get when enemies hit you makes your guy almost do a backflip. Anyways, the game will stay in the hearts of many gamers. I mean, I know it will in mine. I made this whole video because I replayed it a few days ago, and was hit with a good dose of nostalgia.